Hey, what's up, nerdies? English Dave here with my co-host Rocket Mike and special guest host from Nerdie Sports, Tim. What's up, everybody?
What's up?
Today, what's up, Tim? Tim, it's been a while since I podcasted with you.
Yeah,
long time.
Looking forward to this.
I'm happy to get you on this.
Nice
we
shirt,
are here.
by the way.
Thanks,
Tim,
man.
right.
Fly Eagles fly.
That's
on
right.
the road to 2 victories.
All right, we are here to talk about Ted Lasso, the new Apple TV series. Fun fact, this was actually based on an NBC Premier League commercials. So then they ended up making a whole show based on that. So the show follows a US American football coach, Ted Lasso, heading to the UK to manage a struggling London football team in the top flight of English football. This, like I said, stars Jason Sudeikis. And I'll start off with you, Mike. You know, going to the show, I'm sure you knew who Jason Sudeikis is, I should say. But what were your expectations going into the actual show itself?
I didn't learn much about it before going in. It was really just I think I just watched a trailer that was just describing a American football coach going to go and teach English football, which is soccer to us, of course. And so it kind of sounded like a little cheesy at first. I was a little hesitant walking in. But the pilot was actually pretty strong. Jason Sudeikis kind of threw me off. I didn't expect him to have a Western Southern accent. Hard to tell. I forgot specifically what that was from. But I think by like the second episode, at the end of the second episode, I was hooked. This was definitely a very like feel good series. Really easy to watch. No heavy conflicts or huge drama. And I love Jason Sudeikis. He's a great lead. He's very natural with comedy. If you've ever seen him on SNL, he slayed. I think he was one of my favorites in I think it was like the 2010s. So to see him in his own show like this, and especially you, David, I'm sure like there's a lot of humor that is going right over my head. So to see that, that it's actually a great show for both Americans and anyone that is watching soccer, honestly, around the world, can definitely relate to this in both sides of the spectrum.
Yeah, this was a show that I'd heard about for a while. That was in development, and I was very apprehensive to watch because usually when you deal with these narratives of the differences between American sports and like British European sports, it usually becomes a narrative that's just poking fun, like making fun of Americans or making fun of British people, and that's all it is. And so I was apprehensive to jump into it. And when I did watch it, I was very happy to know that that wasn't the case. Yes, they kind of throw digs at each other, but the point isn't to say, oh, British people are weird, Americans are weird. It's not that show. And I really appreciate it. And I think the other thing I really appreciated is that, and I think Tim, you can agree with me on this one, is even though it's a show set in British football, A, you don't have to be a football fan to enjoy it. Or B, you don't have to be a sports fan to enjoy it. Tim, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, completely agree with that. I think it's a show you could bring your mom to watch. I got my mom interested in it just because it's just lighthearted comedy. There's subtle, undertones with those jokes that maybe fly over your head, but there's enough humor to keep everybody interested. I loved the way they made you root for these characters that seemed like stubborn and obnoxious. And I think it did a great job with all the characters. Jason Sudeikis highlighted. He's perfect for this role. I think it was perfect to get a guy who was just about leading a team. He came from a college football team where he barely knew the sport, but it was more about getting the guys together, and they showed you little tricks he did to get the team morale up. And obviously going to England, and all of a sudden you're a world football coach for Richmond Football Club. He has zero idea of what's going on with that sport. He doesn't even know what a pitch is or what a boot is, or at first, of course, I was like, oh man, Apple TV, this is just the worst. This is going to be so corny. But you know what, Dave, you gave the nod of approval, and you never steer me wrong, and I fell in love with it, and I wanted more. I wish I had all 10 episodes just to binge in one day, but it was something to look forward to.
Yeah, I actually want to pivot off of that and talk about the characters. I think you're right. I think they do a very good job with the characters that none of them feel like a stereotype, even though going into it they seem like they will be. Right, like when we're introduced to certain characters, your brain is like, this character is definitely going to be like this. This character is going to be like that. Like you already have your assumptions on what you think the characters are going to end up being like. And I found it a great surprise that some characters that you think you're going to hate, by the end of it, you're like, I love this character. They're great. You know, Mike, I want to talk to you about some of the characters again without spoilers, but did you like the characters?
Absolutely. Yeah, you guys just like hit it right there. You really, started really rooting for them. A lot of people have really grown on me, and it's great seeing Ted Lasso's way of coaching when, you see his strength and how he got so popular. One, not really a spoiler, but it's something that you discover within the first 5 minutes. He is a rookie coach who led a college football team, American college football team, to the championship. And that was they started from nothing and came all the way to the top. So he got a lot of fame. He was all over ESPN, and it's known as like one of the nicest guys you've ever met. And so he's sent over to coach this, Premier League football team for reasons that you'll later discover. And so just to see how this works for him is a great journey, and it's almost inspiring. You're like, oh man, I wish I could be more like this guy.
Right?
Like, why can't everyone be like this? He's a great morale booster. You wish you could just have him with you as a friend, just coaching you in life.
And I think, they do a great. I think Jason Sudeikis does a great job of not making the character annoying, because usually in narratives where the character is so optimistic, it gets annoying. He's like, oh, he's just annoying, and he never gets there. You're always with him, he never becomes.
It can be at
character.
times, but not in like, you don't hate him for it.
No, like, get out my
it's
face.
Almost unrealistic, like, how can anyone be like this? It's almost like, come on, this is a show, like you're putting this on. You're putting
it's almost like, and then again, it's elaborated in the series itself that if you're someone who sees something wrong with it, the issue's more you than him. It's not him. It's like you have to be a little
sadistic,
right?
It's
like your thoughts, and that's kind of how you see the characters, right?
You learn a little bit about yourself when you watch it too.
Tim, I want to talk to you. I mentioned earlier how this is a show that you don't really need to be into sports, or specifically British football, to enjoy, because I think the characterizations, the character dynamics, their storylines, right? You don't see a lot of on pitch action, right? You see a lot of. I think it's a show that also. Regardless of what sport, it embraces the culture around sport, how people's lives are, relationships, and things like that. What do you think about that as a sports fan?
I think it was perfect for 2020 specifically, where you guys are talking, everybody's kind of like cold and stubborn, and you just feel like you need something to lift up your spirits. As a sports fan, that's what I look towards. I want to look towards a match, whether it was Juventus versus Barcelona yesterday, just like something to look forward to lift up my spirits, to get me a little, distracted from what's truly going on in the world. And I think, it's perfect for any sports fan or anybody that just likes comedy in general. Like, it's just a warm-hearted show. It makes you root for these people. And I would recommend it to almost anybody. I don't think it's geared towards anybody specific. It definitely, pulls at the heartstrings in a way I wasn't expecting at all. For a show to be about sports and the rough macho exterior of these guys, and it's just a really, really well written show. The comedy hits from first episode to last, and it makes you look forward to more as well. It's quick. It's like little 20-minute episodes, but I always wanted another one. I was always looking forward towards the next year.
And you can tell they've put a lot of effort into the show. It doesn't feel cheap, right? The production feels like they're making a movie, right? About this guy, because I feel like money. Right, it's like it doesn't feel like a cheap production. But even with Apple's money, I feel like a show like this, you could easily kind of feel like, we don't need to put a lot of money into a show like this. Whereas you can clearly tell that they did. Not to say that there's all crazy VFX and things like that. It looks good. The cinematography looks great. The production design looks great. Even like. Whenever you see movies or TV shows that deal with sports, every time you have the sporting scene, the pitch scenes always seem like fake and weird. But I think they did a good job in this one. I think it looked like a game.
And I can't imagine how hard it is to shoot any kind of sport. Anytime I watch a sports movie, that's fast paced. It's if you go back and you kind of like watch how they made the old Rocky movies, just like every little shot takes so long to do. Now imagine you know, that's at least in a box. You know, these guys are running full speed at times. So, you know, props to the cinematography on that. That's a real challenge, and they accomplish that so well. It's like, oh man, I wish I could watch live sport games like this. But then, then you got so much equipment in the way. You can see these guys probably tackle the cameraman eventually.
Right. Like it doesn't look staged, right?
No,
it looks like they're playing a game.
Exactly.
Right. I think it's time for us to go into a spoiler segment. So if you guys haven't seen this show and you have Apple TV, I say it's highly recommended. Definitely check it out. Even if you're not a sports fan, I would say check this out. It's hilarious. And fun fact, not only did the show get a season 2 green light, it's already got season 3 green light. Season 2 hasn't even started filming it.
Wow.
Thank you.
So I look forward to seeing more and more of that and seeing where the direction leads to.
And they do give a hint as to what will bring, like what season 2 and 3 will be about by the end of the first season. So it's like, it makes sense that they've already locked in the third.
Actually, before we go into spoiler section, I do like the fact that certain narratives, I won't mention them, don't get dragged out. You know, certain shows where they have certain narratives, they just drag it out so long. It's like 3 seasons later is when the reveal, a character finds out a secret. Season 3.
Yeah.
You know, this one, there's a secret that a character finds out, but it's earlier on, it's dealt with and we move along. It's not this like long, like dramatic,
I was afraid of that too. Yeah.
Right? Soap opera style narrative. And I'm so happy they didn't go there. All right, let's go into a spoiler section. I'm going to quickly breeze through this. I want to talk about Ted Lasso himself. Tim, you know, his narrative, you know, from arriving in England, trying to do his thing, and then as the audience, we realize what's really driving him, and that's trying to get back with his wife, and then accepting that divorce, and then, you know, finding the truth about what Rebecca does to her. What do you think of his whole arc from beginning to end?
I think it's perfect way to get under any boss's good side. You know, he brings the homemade biscuits, the little.
I love that.
It's perfect. It's just like, here's this. Rebecca Harrington, you said, right? Here's this like rough exterior of a woman, businesswoman, like literally is only bringing this guy in to ruin her husband's football club. The only reason. Here's this fool. I want to bring him in to ruin this club. There's no way they're not going to get relegated if this guy's the coach. But all of a sudden, it's more than just about the technical skills. He even gets like the what's the assistant's name? Nate. Yeah, he eventually gets promoted in the finale because he does such a good job. He actually writes like little plays for them to use because Jason Sudeikis has no idea what to do. Even by the finale, he has no idea what an offsides is. He's just
it's with the ketchup is in front of the mustard.
But seriously, the humor lasts throughout. Like there's so many good little jokes, little subtle jokes throughout. From first episode to the 10th episode of the first season. But this guy just does a good job at leading. He understands. He's like, okay, here's Jamie Tart. Here's the striker. Here's the macho guy that doesn't care about anybody else. He's only there to score goals. You give him the ball and he'll score the goals. But he realizes like, okay, well, if the rest of my team doesn't care, we're not going to win. So he gets all these games to keep the morale up. I'm interested to hear what your favorite, I guess, side antics were that he did, you know, to get his team on the right side.
Oh, I mean, I loved all the things that he would do. Just even little things like interacting with Sam, right, who just come from Nigeria, and understanding that it's hard for someone who's away from home because he's feeling the same thing, right? And I think that's a good thing about Ted. He gets people, or he takes the time to try and understand people, and even bring them out from outside from their shell and things like that. But at the same time, what I like is that he himself isn't necessarily always happy. And I think Jason Sudeikis did a great job of that. You know, that sequence where he has to sign the divorce papers. You know, you felt it. I was like, damn. I was like, oh shit. Like, you know, it's just accepting that, you know what, I can't keep holding on to this.
It was also the one time you see him as a human. Almost.
Yes.
You know, like it kind of brought him back down to earth. Like, no, this guy can break, and he is like the rest of us. He can hurt. You know, he's not this superhuman that is just purely optimistic and positive all the time. You know, he's got to look out for himself, and then, you know, he suffers, you know, like anyone else would, but it also doesn't dominate him either. No, it doesn't drag on. We don't get like 6 episodes of him moping around. Right. Yeah. But then he also uses that, right, in terms of going through that, you know, when Rebecca admits to him that what she did, if he hadn't gone through his
that process, he wouldn't have forgiven her. So he's like, I know this can.
That's actually a good question, to bring up. Would he still forgive her if he hadn't already gone through that? Because he's also got to look at his character. He is a very positive person. It's really hard to get under his skin about a lot of things. For probably the exception of Jamie Tartt, who you could see him starting, like when he didn't want to go to practice, and he just kept repeating himself. It's just practice. It's just practice.
Love that scene. I love that locker room scene.
Hey, Tim, too. I don't know if you remember this. It was probably in. Iverson? Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah, it's just practice. It's just practice.
We're talking about practice. We're
talking about practice. That's exactly. I'm wondering if that's where they pulled it from.
Probably. I wouldn't be surprised.
Because after that, I remember being in, like phys ed in high school, and like the football coach who was also our gym teacher. He was talking about that. And he's like, no one knows the importance of practice. It's not just practice. It's not just. This is almost more important than the game itself. It's exactly that. You're leading up to that. Without it, you might as well not even play. So it was a great, valuable lesson to learn, early on in life too. But
very true.
Bringing that back, man, that stuck. That will always stick too now.
I want to talk about Rebecca and Keely. Rebecca, she becomes the owner of the team, and like you said, Tim, her goal is to just destroy this because of her recent divorce. This is the one thing her ex passionately loved, and her goal is just destroy this at any cost. And I like her. She's one of my favorite arcs in this story, because we find out later when her best friend arrives, we find out that her real self is a nice person. That hard exterior is the fake. It's not. It's
usually how it goes too.
Exactly. It's usually how it goes. Because of various reasons, a woman in a place like that, it's not easy. In that kind of job. And I like that the show highlights that too. The difference in male and female and how they are received in this kind of world. And even with Keely, I like their bond. I like that Keely comes, after Ted says to Keely, "Oh no, Rebecca's not that bad." Keely's like, "Oh, I'm not afraid of you anymore." And Keely is very much instrumental in breaking down the walls down for Rebecca. So Tim, what do you think of Rebecca and Keely in general?
I thought they had a great dynamic. Two girls. One girl, she's with Jamie Tartt. She's got a little love triangle between Jamie Tartt and Roy Kent. And two macho strikers, and she's like, I've never even cared about a football game until the last match, because of this relationship she had with the owner. And she's been there, she's done that, she's had her fun, but now she's truly falling in love with people and caring about people. And she's there with Roy Kent at the end when he probably tore his ACL or whatever happened at the end. But the relationship with the owner and then the star player's girlfriend probably is never the case. But it just made me think okay, what if the owner really truly cared about the players? And I'm sure somewhere out there's an owner, and I'm sure the team's more successful because of that. And all of a sudden she went from wanting to destroy this club, destroy everything her husband cared about, and then all of a sudden she's really falling in love with these people. It could be because there's this coach, Ted Lasso, that comes and flies across the pond and brings her a piece of home. Those biscuits are a piece of home for her. And all of a sudden she realizes day by day she can't start hating. His positivity breaks her down. And it really made me appreciate how I could live my own life. Okay, maybe I shouldn't take personal relationships so seriously. Just brush it off. If their life is better off, so am I. Let's move on and just have some good fun. And the show just gets you in a good mood. And the relationship between the two girls just reminds you that they don't have to fight each other. They could be on the same team. And all of a sudden she's in the press box or the owner's box at the end, and she's like, "Hey, listen, this is the first time I've truly cared about a match. And it's because of you. And it's because of Roy. It's because of people I care about. It's not superficial anymore." I liked how it was about, and then you could go, sorry. I liked how each character built off of each other. And it wasn't superficial. It wasn't fake. They fit their molds, but there was always a sense of surprise with what could happen in the finale.
I was ready to not like Keely as a character. She just seemed like that typical, stereotype. And I think that's done by design for us to feel that way, because she ends up becoming one of my favorite characters. And in many cases, she's like the heart of the story. She's the one that tells Rebecca, you have to tell Roy. Do you have to tell Ted? She's the one that, tries to help, like you said, helps Roy go through his stuff. When he's like, get away from me, she's like, no, I'm going to keep coming at you, and she's very much instrumental in Rebecca's change. And I love that. I love the scene where Rebecca tells her about the nude photos, and Achilles like, come on, you got to show them to me. You don't tell me if you don't want to show it to me. Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And I just like,
it's not just like some random relationship. They built a friendship.
Right.
She almost starts becoming like taking on a little bit of Ted's characteristics of being like kind of a huge supporter, like boosting her morale. Like again, you're talking about like looking at her news, like, God damn, look
so
at those.
amazing.
It's like, my God, I just want to like grab them. It's huge. So jealous. She's like, and then like she like had mentioned, and it's like, oh, you don't really. We're sharing a room, but like, you don't really plan on like sleeping with me. He's like, no. I had thought about that. It's like, yeah, no, I have.
No, I have. Seriously.
No, I got this luxurious suite for the two of us.
Yeah.
And I do love that. I think the actress that plays Keely is absolutely great. And I like her personal story, though, realizing that I can't be going out with toy boys anymore. She said, when I was 23, I was dating 23-year-old football players. Now I'm older. I'm still dating 23-year-old football
She's like
players.
30, I think.
And it's like, yeah, you need to grow yourself. And what is it that you're looking for in a partner? And she realizes, I'm not looking for the right things. It's all superficial. And I love that it doesn't take, again, what the show does, it doesn't take overly dramatic moments for people to realize these things. Right? A lot of these things, people kind of, we could have had a lot of beef between Rebecca and Keely, and then they become friends. We don't have any of that. It's just like, no, they become friends. It doesn't take that much time. Mike, I want to talk to you about the two football stars, Jamie and Roy. Jamie's the new hot kid, ego and everything like that. And then Roy's the old one, who used to be like Jamie. And he goes to the narrative of being the reluctant leader. What do you think of their storylines?
Okay, I should have looked up this actual football player's name, because he was also an actor. Sorry?
Who plays which character?
Okay, so Roy Kent reminds me so much of he was in Lock, Stock,
Vinny Jones.
Vinny Jones.
Yep.
Yes. Oh man, you got it right away. Yeah, because he used to be a football player too.
Yep.
So I think he was also known as being a hothead. And I'm wondering if maybe he got the inspiration for his character from him, because I'm like, oh, these guys look a lot alike, but they're also like really good at. He's great at playing comedy by just being like dry, stoic, angry all the time. And then you just got this like young little shit, that just thinks he is, the hottest thing. And rightly so. He you guys hit it too.
God blessed him with a great right foot.
Score. So it's not like he is not backing it up either. But it is, I think like one of my favorite scenes between them is like kind of like when they make a little bit of amends at that auction. And Roy Kent, he claims that he's like, yeah, Ted asked him, how are you when you were 23 years old? He's like, I was a cocky little shit. And it's like, oh, okay. So you were there too. So now there is some kind of, common ground that you guys can break bread over. Because that's one thing too. It's David, you hit it too. You hate seeing these conflicts being prolonged throughout this series. You don't like to see things being stretched too long, because then it just becomes repetitive. To see these guys make more amends, at least I think it's like halfway through the series, by just like bickering up until then, it's great. It's like it's a nice break, and now you see something new. You see new relationships and new dialogue now starting to form. Now they can just kind of like. And he's like, old man, it's like, okay, now they're just kind of like playing at each other rather than being at each other's throats, literally. So
I like that they didn't also drag the whole love triangle thing. Like I felt they were going to go there. I love they didn't.
It was also a great growth too when he's, when Keely, she is actually really mature. It's like, what, I'm going to sleep with this guy because he seems to be growing. When she talks about Jamie Tart, and then mentioning that to Roy, but they're not official. They're not officially dating. It's kind of like, fucking get over it. And that was, everyone had grown from that. Jamie Tart and Keely and Roy, all of them had matured in that like 1 to 2 episode spectrum. And that was, it makes sense. Like, why not? Who gives a shit? Get over it. Be an adult.
And I liked Ted's kind of narrative with Roy, where Ted sees a leader in him, right? And doesn't say to him, stop being angry. He's saying to, no, bring out that anger. Just use it on the pitch. You know, like, like focus that anger, bring it out of you. You haven't seen it. You know, even when Nate talks to him, like, you haven't seen that anger in you in a while. Bring it out.
Scene with Nate. Holy hell. That letter.
Tell me to my face. Don't read it. I was like, oh, shit. And I love Roy because every time you think he's about to really lose his shit, he'll say a joke. You know, he kind of like, he gets almost there. And I love his relationship with his niece.
Oh, my God, yeah.
She's so cute and great. Even Jamie, I appreciate that there's a lot of nuance to Jamie. You know, like, he could easily have just been, he's the arsehole character, end the season, we never see him again. Right. But then we break down his walls and realize, oh shit, he has issues because he was initially doing this for his mother, but then his father's this abusive father. You know, they win the game, but his father's still mad at him because he passed the ball. Yeah. He's like, oh shit. But then it's established earlier on that if he didn't pass, maybe they wouldn't have scored. That extra pass, you know, the one time he listens to Ted, and I love that. You know, any opinions on Jamie, Tim?
No, I think highlighting that scene at the end, though, it makes you interested in season 2, and there's more evolution to Jamie Tart than just what we've seen. I think it was fantastic. You got this guy, probably has a Ferrari, you know, he just got all the money in the world, he got any girl he wants, scores all the goals, but every single character has insecurities that they're willing to overcome. Even Jamie Tart, here's this guy that appears to have it all and hates all of his teammates. And even when he gets transferred to Man City, he misses the Richmond Football Club. He ends up relegating the squad, but he still is on the bus reading the note from Ted Lasso, his former coach, and it's like, oh, this guy's not full of shit. This guy's real. Like, this is what he truly means. He just wants people to be better. That's it. He doesn't care if you're playing for Man City or his own Richmond club.
The way I see Ted, you know, he's a coach, but he's more of a life coach, right? He doesn't care about sport. He wants to see you be the best to you. You know, he said that himself. You know,
he's almost the father figure that was missing in his life. Being as clearly he didn't get it from his actual dad. He's just very abusive. He said that he left, you know, when he was little and only came back when he became a star. You know, took care of his mom the whole time, and now Ted Lasso is like kind of filling in that gap, and it's
he doesn't understand it.
Yeah, it's fucking mind games, you know. And like, yeah, he's trying to push him away, you know, like he's been kind of bred to do when he was younger. So now it's not a feeling, you know, if there's someone who never got a lot of love, you know, your instinct is to push. And so now it's kind of like, it's not until the very last episode you start to see him finally kind of like warm up. And now, you know, it's great, Tim. Yeah, I think we've set to see more of an evolution of him probably come second season. And I'm really curious to see where that goes, where his character goes, especially.
Let's talk about some of the secondary characters quickly. One of my favorite characters, period, of the show is Coach Beard. I think in a weird way, it seems as if like he is a part of Ted's personality, ripped out of Ted, and he's just right there to support Ted and everything. He's a man that doesn't say much, but says a lot, and he loves his chess.
Unsung hero.
Another guy with the rough exterior, subtle jokes, but always made you root for him. You know, it's like, here's this guy who's been with Ted Lasso through the whole time, and I'm sure he knows the public perception of Ted is, here's this overly optimistic guy, and he needs to be the realistic perspective on the side. He's the guy that tried to learn the game and subtly teaches him about each element. And I think we all need somebody in our life just to fully understand who we are, don't have to overshadow us, but are rooting for us through the whole time. And even through the divorce, he understands exactly how to speak with him. He understands, you know, what kind of players need to know, how to even like bring in Nate. Here's this guy that's just like, I guess the equipment guy, little kid. And then all of a sudden he realizes that, okay, he knows the game more than us. So so here's this guy, the coach he's stubborn. He is very monochromatic, you know, it's very, he could be a bit of a bore from the outside perspective. But he still understands how everybody around him can make him better. I think he was a great compliment to Ted Lasso's overly optimistic personality.
Yeah, it's almost like he really understood Ted. He was like Ted's anchor, finishing all his sentences and things like that. But I also like that he gets his own personality, right? Like he goes on dates, but he has chess dates. He's like, rook to number 5. He's just sitting there and they talk to each other. Or when I love the secret scene when she's playing chess with another guy. And then he gets mad at Ted, and then she gets all like, "Ooh, I like that." And he's like, "She was just toying with you." Finishes the game. Grab your
things.
Some of my other favorite characters, secondary characters. I loved everyone at the pub. I thought they were great. Just seeing that evolution of all these guys hating Ted, and then slowly, reluctantly loving him. I love the scene where the guy's like, "Oh, he's got a kid," and one of the guys is like, "Don't humanize him. What's wrong with you?" Yeah, I feel like that added to the culture of sports, right? The fans.
That's what it's all about. Yeah, you have these fans who are like, "Oh, who's this bloody wank over here coming into England? Doesn't know anything." All of a sudden, his first press conferences are like just so revealing to his character of who he is. But he stays consistent. Ted Lasso stays consistent throughout the whole thing, and just like every other character, all of a sudden you end up loving him. So the fans at the pub give us the real perspective. They're almost like us in the show. It's like, here's this guy, Ted Lasso, who we can't really respect much because he's not going to help us win. Yeah, he's not going to help us beat teams like Man City, Manchester United, Liverpool, all these premier clubs. Like, we're about to get relegated, and this is the guy you hire? No way. This guy doesn't know a lick of football. And then all of a sudden you humanize him. You feel out all the little intricacies of his personality to understand, okay, this is what makes a great manager. It's not really about the technical skills. It's about building everybody together. And all of a sudden they're in the pub at the end, rooting for him. And they're brokenhearted, just as, you would want to be. It is the hope that, gives you the love and the hate. But you still need that hope, and he still gave his fans the hope. And I'm really looking forward to season 2 to see if these guys are still around, if they're still rooting for their club now they're in the championship division. And I think the guys at the pub just gave us like an inside to the show.
Before we finish off, I'll ask both of you, but I'll ask you first, Mike. Expectations going into season 2 and possible 3.
Ooh, so obviously, like I was mentioning before, the end of the first season is saying like, okay, well, we're gonna win the championship league, and then we're gonna come back and win the whole damn thing in the Premier League. So I'm hoping they stick to that. We would all love to, root for them, but I think they could make it back into the Premier in the third season, and it is a matter of, will they stick with it? Will Jamie Tart end up coming back into the team? I think I see him coming back into maybe at the end of the second season. Like maybe he somehow Ted gets to him and he demotes himself down to the championship league, instead of the Premier with was it Man City? Because then that would be a huge shift. He's been growing, and I can see him continuing to do so. I think I continue to see him, like I said, see Ted as a better father figure, and I'm probably going to see more of his background. And then I think, would Roy end up retiring? They said that was his last game at the end of the season. Maybe he becomes an assistant coach somehow.
Tim, we have 1 minute left. What are your expectations? The team is relegated. Where do you think it's going to go second season?
Yeah, I mean, they're now in the championship, and I loved how all of a sudden they're like, wait, so the second, it was just how I learned it like a decade ago. It's like, wait, so it's the Premier League, and then all of a sudden you go to the championship when you get relegated? So now they're in the championship, the lesser division, and they got to get promoted. They're definitely going to get promoted, but I feel one thing the finale gave us, all of a sudden, I thought, no way they're going to get relegated. No way Jamie Tart's going to come in and score the winning goal or get the assist for the winning goal. So I could see a little twist. I'd be shocked if they don't go back to the Premier League, but I think this is more than the game. It's more than just about football. And I think they could have a ton of success in the championship division. So who knows what's going to happen.
Well, who knows? Indeed, we look forward to the new season next year. I'm definitely excited. If any of you guys have seen the show and enjoyed, let us know. Find us on social media at The Nerdie Bunch. Thank you, Rocket Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, guys.
If you sports nerds want to find out more about Tim and his sports nerds, tune in the next few weeks. They're going to start doing a couple of podcasts that you guys might be interested in. So follow us on social media and stay tuned for more of Tim and his crew. Thank you guys for listening. My name is English Dave, and this has been a Nerdie Bunch review for Ted Lasso. And as always, Tim, this is your turn.
Keep it nerdy.
Keep it nerdy, guys. Peace.